I want to see the pictures. Okay.
Hello, welcome to Books, the Universe, and Everything. This month we're talking about Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. I'm super excited, but before we get started, let's introduce ourselves really quick. I'll go first. I'm Ashley. I am the editing track head with LTUE, Life, the Universe, and Everything Symposium. Jade, do you want to get us started?
Sure. I am Jay Boyce. I write a lit RPG series called, well, I've got two of them, Siphon and Lotus Lake are my book ones. And I'm a longtime friend of Matt and Jeff, so I'm going to have a lot of random personal interjections on their life and stuff.
Awesome.
That's me.
Jessica, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Jessica Guernsey. I read the slush pile for several different editors, so I have a little bit different insight on the publishing world. And I also am a short story author.
Awesome. And Cameron?
Hi, I'm Cameron Hopkin. I've written a couple of books under my own name, Gathering of Chaos, Wander the Lost. I'm currently working with a co-writer on some lit RPG stuff on Royal Road, and that's a ton of fun as well. My day job is as a university professor of psychology and also as a clinical mental health counselor.
That's a lot of varied things. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so a little introduction. Now, I'm really excited that Jay is here with our inside scoop because I have a couple things I wanted to say about Matt Dinniman, and you can fact check this for us, actually. This is stuff I read on the internet. So first of all, I thought it was pretty great that I did read somewhere that he drew on like RuneScape and some other like MMO RPG type games as inspiration for his books. Would you say that's true?
No, that absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Probably goes without saying, right? But I did love the RuneScape part. Um, one
Most
thing
lit
that
RPG
I thought was
people.
really cool too is I heard that he allows his Patreon subscribers to vote on the contents of the loot boxes.
Yeah,
That's
like the real fan boxes. That's great.
That is awesome.
So I was kind of telling you
that's
guys
awesome.
earlier, but Matt has an unhinged writing style where he will write the same chapter like up to like 9 or 10 times and then pick whichever one is best. But sometimes he actually also allows his patrons to pick which one is best. So he's very interactive with his community. He does allow them to do that kind of stuff and to have outcome in it. It's a really great way of like interacting with his community. But it's also just because he is a pantser, and so like he has a general idea where the story is going, but he's just making it up and playing it by himself as he goes too. So yeah, he and having fan interaction like that makes it fun for him too, because it makes it more realistic when like people are voting on the boxes in the books, like people are actually voting.
I have to
Just
say, it
like
is really good to
in
know that he's pantsing it, because having, listened through the series and now going back and listening to book one in order to talk about it now, it feels like he's very intelligently and meaningfully seeding a bunch of like little stuff, and it's nice to know as a writer myself that he is like, oh, I've got something there. I can use that in grabbing it later. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have guessed he was a pantser either because he's so good at kind of weaving in the different story arcs.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's one of those things with lit RPG that I recommend is like you should have the bones of your story, like you should have the bones of your system and where you can go. But writing for a lot of us is just filling out the flesh and the muscles and putting on the pretty skin for the book. So that's my thing. Anyway.
I love it so much because it's just like what's happening in the book, right? They're voting on the loot boxes and it's happening in real life too. That connection it's incredible. And talk about motivation to subscribe, right? That would definitely get me to subscribe as a patron as well. So just gotta say,
it's a successful model for a reason. Patron or patron, the
Patreon.
content creators. The content creators for Patreon. I don't remember what we call this actual person that I call them my patrons, but the creators who actively include and involve their fan bases usually get much more money if they are consistent and involving.
I mean, you look at the
Just
number of
how-
subscribers he's got, and obviously it is working.
Oh yeah. How many subscribers does he have?
Last time I looked, it was let's see. I looked at a bunch of different ones all at once. He was either one that had 10,000 or 30,000. I can't remember.
Oh wow, that is pretty impressive.
But it was a pretty bonkers number. I recall.
I love it. Good for him.
I'm gonna look them up now.
Honestly, yeah.
Are you looking it up?
Yes, I am. That's the person that I am. Thank you.
It's fair.
I must look things up. It doesn't. It doesn't actually say. Oh no, he's got like 9,000
Okay, yeah.
people. So
It's a lot.
yeah,
But you
It's still
figure
pretty
if you
big.
got 9,000 people at, $5 a month or $10 a month, that sounds pretty good to me. You all right with that?
Sounds pretty
and they
good.
get a lot of extra content because they do get to participate in the process, and like they get to see chapters that we don't see because he does, have all of these extra like options that don't actually make it into the book all the time. So they get to see what might have been. It's kind of a fun little behind the scenes.
That would be awesome. I would love to see some deleted chapters.
Me too.
Just saying.
I mean, I don't know if this is the direction we want this conversation to go, but the Patreon to Amazon model is so exciting to me, and it seems to be for so many folks, Matt Dinniman included, such an amazing way to be more interactive with fans and to get people excited and get this whole groundswell going. It's so cool, and
Also,
feels like something the trad pub world just can't replicate.
no,
Mm.
it's not. It's
I love
it's a new way of publishing, and it's made publishing a lot more accessible to
Yes.
everyone. Especially because like I go to Dragon Con every year, and there is a very large lit RPG subset of people there now. We have a very large showing there every year now, and there is a huge group of like these like 20-year-old kids that are making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
By riding on Royal Road and then getting picked up. Like they're making a lot of money doing this. And I'm like, okay, like if I had that much money as a 20-year-old, like they're paying for houses for their parents and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like
Wow.
they're fantastic. But it's just crazy because I'm like, you are children and you have
I've got
access
a
to lots of
20-year-old. Maybe she needs to pay for my house.
money.
I would have
Yeah,
gotten myself in so much trouble with that kind of money at that age.
right?
Would it have been
Me
amazing?
too. I would not have bought my parents a house.
No.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are more responsible than others, but there's a lot of European ones, and they seem to be the more responsible type.
Mm.
I don't know why.
That's a good question.
I think it's all the cheese in their diet.
So much cheese. It's so good. And European cheese is so much different than American cheese. I'm not
Yes,
gonna lie.
it is.
I was like, I ordered feta cheese in England, and I was like, this is not feta. This is like a wet brick. What is this? I'm used to preservatives, okay?
Yeah. Exactly.
I have completely derailed the conversation again.
It's okay. No worries. I wanted to circle back really quickly to lit RPG just for a moment for any viewers who are a little unfamiliar with the genre. Would you mind just explaining a little bit how it differs from, say, like a book about D&D or that ties in with a game? How is this different?
So tie-in D&D books would generally be considered lit RPG, but not all lit RPG is tie-in, if that makes sense. And so lit RPG really, the politics of it is that there are two terms, lit RPG and game lit, and they have generally been accepted as lit RPG is anything with game mechanics that has the actual stat boxes in it. They have stat and quest and item stuff in it. Gamelit is anything that has the elements but without the actual stats in it. And almost every lit RPG author is drawing from games and stuff that they have played. However, 99% of us have also created our own fully robust system to support our books. Like, I could make a VR MMO if I had access to the right technology. Like, I've
Wow.
created the game. I made it. It's there. I just have to like hand it to a game creator, and I could, yeah. That's the thing. Like, if we had access to the right tech, we could. And there are some game creators, who are writing lit RPG books now. Like, one of our most famous audiobook narrators is a previous game creator and writer. So you might have heard of him. His name's Travis. So like there's a lot of in that. There's a lot of things like that. So most of us have created our own very robust systems that hopefully we don't show as much. Like, that was one of the things in earlier lit RPG that we've kind of moved away from a bit, is that they were really crunchy or heavy stat heavy.
Yeah.
And we've moved away from that because such a huge part of our audience is audiobook readers. And stats are not fun in audio. So like, I have these like page-long stat lists in my first few books, and I'm like, I hate listening to this. This is the most boring part of the audio because I don't listen. I'm a reader all the way, and like, I love like being able to. I make stat sheets of every book I read, and so like, I will compare the stats as they're going up, and I like doing that. But in audio, that is torture. And so there's been a huge shift into pulling the stat sheets and doing them less, or like doing them kind of cheaty at the end of a chapter, or putting them in their own chapter, or, you know, trying to find ways around this because it is really tedious in audio.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Jay,
And
let me ask-
when you finish, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Cameron. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask you a question. I'd never heard the distinction between game lit and lit RPG before. So my first novel was one that was written as sort of a pack-in for a new tabletop game that was written in the world, but was just straight sort of dark epic fantasy in that world. Think like something like Dragonlance from the old Forgotten Realms campaigns. Would that be considered more gamelit rather than lit RPG? There were no stat blocks. There was no leveling. It's just a story. Okay, gotcha. Cool.
And the fans will get you on that. Like, the fans are rabid, and if you misclassify something, they will get angry.
Absolutely.
They will
Never
get angry.
misplay a romance. Oh my goodness.
And the lit RPG one, especially because there was a specific time, a point in time where it was getting very there were a lot of right to market people who tried to come in, and they weren't gamers.
Mm.
And so they were trying to take advantage of the shooting popularity of game lit and lit RPG, and they labeled stuff, and the fans were like, they got torn to shreds, honestly. Because they weren't gamers, and gamers will know if you really love what you're writing. They do know if you understand what the mechanics are, and what the jargon is and things like that. So that is important, I will say.
Well, the comment I was going to make earlier was that
and some of it's politics, because the split
Okay, never
happened
mind.
when somebody tried to.
Okay, I think Jay might be a little bit lagged because, like, for me, her mouth is not matching up with her voice. Okay, all right, just making sure. The comment I was going to make earlier is, I do listen to the audiobooks because reading the books feels too much like my day job. and I will start picking apart your plots. It's no fun. But so I read the audio, and at the end of the book, it gives you might also enjoy. And I find the ones at the end of the Matt Dinniman books, which are more lit RPG, are usually a lot more stats up front, a lot more stat heavy, as it were. So is that more of the old school lit RPG that they're listing these stats right off the bat and they're talking about their inventory right off the bat without really any introduction to the world? Or is that just not a good book?
Both. It's definitely more of a throwback. I think a lot more of the more recent ones have made that less, but like I'll say it again. We like our character creation. We do. We introducing the world and doing character creation is like crack for a lot of us. So I and not everybody likes it, and that's why there's been such a dichotomy. And it definitely depends on if you are reading the VR MMO ones, or if you're reading the post-apocalypse, or you're reading the isekai, or the tower climbers, or the card ones. There's a bunch of different kinds now, and depending on which one you are, they're going to be more stat heavy or not.
Okay, good to know.
The VR MMO ones will definitely have more stats, just as a general.
That's the style, yeah.
It's been a real education for me. I started in on lit RPG more or less with Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Me too.
And
after Sight.
And I loved it. Like I had a ton of fun with it, listened all the way through the series. And then thought, oh, well, I should branch out from here. And not to throw anybody under the bus, because obviously this other author is doing super, super well. But I went from Dungeon Crawler Carl to Primal Hunter, which has been around a little bit longer, and is another Zogarth that is making tons and just crazy money.
Exactly what you're talking about.
But then coming from Dungeon Crawler Carl and going to Primal Hunter, I was like, ooh, I'm kind of struggling here at the beginning. That is a lot of numbers being thrown at me in my ears. And they keep coming back around, and there is not as much characterization, and there is not as much plot right up front. And I had to I had to get used to it. I had to sort of settle into it. And now that I have, I'm really enjoying it, of course. But I feel like Matt Dinniman has really sort of hit the sweet spot with enough stat blocks, enough loot boxes, and enough numbers to satisfy the I need the numbers to go up crowd, while still giving enough sort of fantasy vibe for the more general reader to jump in on the story.
Oh no, that's absolutely true. And I mentioned earlier that I keep stat sheets of the books that I'm reading as I'm reading them, because I like to watch the numbers go up on my own, and I like to keep track of things. I also send notes to authors. I do. I will highlight. I'm like, this is wrong. Can you please go fix this, please? And I have to say, I reread books 1 and 2 this morning, and I have no notes to send Matt. It was a miracle, honestly. I haven't had that happen in a while. I was like, oh, like, I maybe I sent them a couple years ago. I don't know, because this is not my first reread. My first read of them. So maybe I sent them a couple years ago. I don't know. It's possible I did that. But it was very clean, and I was like, oh, this is really nice. My editor brain turned off, and I could just read. But
I love when that happens.
And it's a hard line to balance, because and I was actually looking at this earlier, because I was looking at the sheet, and what he does is he literally has only given the actual stat sheet by the end of book 2. He's only given the full stat sheet 3 times.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So he only gave it once in book 2. He gave it once at the very beginning of the book. He gave it again when they got their class updates, and then he gave it once in book 2. And then he sprinkles in other oh, this stats at this point, or they've got this many views every 4 or 5 chapters. They gives a view count,
Right.
or like, hey, this skill has gone up to that, but he's never given a full. If he gave the full list of skills, it would be overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely.
Overwhelming. Which he is very smart in not doing that, because it also means that people can't be like, oh, but you said this. Oh, but you said that. And people like me going, hey, you said it was this in this chapter, and then 4 chapters later you forgot you did it. Can you fix that? Because that's what I do.
And people catch it. As someone who is currently putting a card battler on Royal Road, like, they catch it if we make a mistake.
No, they are there for it. They will.
They get pissed.
Yep.
They will get you. Which is actually another nice thing about Royal Road and Patreon, is that you basically have a whole bunch of free editors.
It's amazing.
Or people who pay to be your editors. They will pay you to be your editors. It is
That's
great. It is great. My first line of defense. Like, they're like, hey, this doesn't seem okay. I'll fix that. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And they love, and that's another audience interaction point that they absolutely love. They love being part of the process and being able to be like, hey, I noticed this, and then seeing it fixed. They like that. So,
For sure.
it's just one of those things that's like really nice, is that it's free editing and it makes them happy and they pay you for it. So,
Totally. I think you guys bring up a really good point, and something I wanted to talk about actually. I feel like Matt does such a great job balancing elements in these books. So like, there's the game elements, there's the stats, there's this whole viewer element, there's like what's going on behind the scenes with the aliens and the politics, and then there's of course our action and what's driving the plot forward and the characters. How do you think he does that? For me, it kind of makes my brain want to explode, because that feels like 3 different books or something, like balancing them all into one. Do you guys have some thoughts about that?
I think it's magic. Honestly, it's magic.
things everywhere.
No, but it is really hard, especially if he's a pantser, to get all those perfect little threads. I don't know if you guys ever do any like fiber arts or anything like that, but you got to weave threads in a specific way if you want the specific pattern. And that's exactly what he does. I mean, he hits us with the humor. And so we immediately love the characters, because who's not going to love Princess Donut? I'm sorry, who's not going to? I'm even a dog person, and my dog is in the room and might be offended that I just said that. But he's so good at making you care about these characters. And so when they're in the perilous situation, you feel it. You feel it. He's very good at balancing the action with the humor, and then also the serious moments. So like, I never feel like it's all action, and I'm tired and exhausted and I can't read anymore. But that is a very hard skill to do, especially in the lit RPG books. I feel like a lot of them are so action based that it feel like you never get a breather. But I really like the way he does it. Oh no.
Actually, intentionally do the humor. He was writing this as a horror book.
Yeah, I can see that, honestly.
He was writing it as a horror book, but that's just his dark humor coming through, and like,
okay,
just who he is as a person. And so, like, I actually was reading. He did a Reddit AMA, and I saw it, and I was like looking at it, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I don't intentionally include the like." He doesn't intentionally go from like the moments to humor, and that he's like, humor is a coping mechanism.
Yeah,
he's using the characters getting from point A to B, and like that's their coping mechanism. So that's where a lot of it comes from. Is that's how he sees it? Is humor is a coping mechanism, and so they are dealing with it. And dealing with the horrible situation that they are in a dark, humorous way, because that's their only way they can.
That's the only option, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You talk about sort of the horrific elements of the book. I know a couple of folks who actually bounced off of book 1 because of that first boss battle
The
with
hoarder?
Yeah, with the hoarder, with the cockroaches coming out of the mouth, and him having to kill her, where she's pleading for help in Spanish the entire time. And I know one guy specifically who was like, "Oh, this is not for me. Thank you."
Yeah. I don't
And
even
more power
speak
to him, of course.
Spanish, and I could tell that was she was pleading for help.
Exactly.
It was just,
But it was I having now sort of read through the series, it's so smart to establish the villainy of the overarching syndicate and the system that they're embedded in. And to that idea of like, how does he weave together sort of the overarching plot threads, especially being a pantser, and the heart and the humor and the action and then the stats on top of it. I can only think that that's the book that he wants to read. I think that people write the books they want to read, and
I do.
there is he's got the right kind of brain to weave those threads, right? Nobody's going to write a Brandon Sanderson book but Brandon Sanderson. I don't think anybody's going to write a Matt Dinniman book the same way that he's going to write it. And for my 2 cents, like he balances those things really, really well.
Really good. He never hits you too heavy with one of the elements. It's always pieces, especially the politics. Because I don't read books for their politics, but it's just so well done. He's
brilliant, and but he's also like he's super good at drawing you in and making you believe things. Like the dude is a rock star. Legit. Like he's in 2 rock bands. One of them is called Digging for Change. It's hilarious. But he's also like he worked as a psychic medium where people would call in for a psychic.
That's amazing.
And
it's so great.
He was really good at it because he could keep people on the line, like just believing his whatever he was BSing. Like he was really good at that, and that's.
What do you mean BSing? You mean it's not real?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I had pearls. I would clutch them.
It is real. If you'll stick around at the end, I'll give you the number of my favorite ones.
Thank you, Cameron, a true believer.
I'm sorry. I will.
It's the one that I run, so
I figured, yeah.
Totally. It's the best thing ever. Like no, he's super good at doing all that. He lives a very diverse life. Like. And like the pets come from he has a lot of pets. His is I think his favorites are the pugs. I'm gonna say that, but I could be wrong. But like he adores animals, and he's got his daughters are in college, and like he's got a lot of different things in his life that he has done, and so many experiences. That have just made him this really interesting, crazy person that I love. Like nicest guy. You could not his success could not have happened to a nicer person. But
repeatedly that he's just a really nice guy, and a lot of people like him, which cannot be said for a lot of big name authors.
Oh no, he is the sweetest guy. Like again, I met him years ago before Dungeon Crawler Crawl took off, and I met him at a convention where he was selling his art, which is this, little, it's on pictures on dictionary pages.
Love
and
it.
He was selling that at a convention. I went and I said hi because I knew he was a lit RPG author, and his Sword of Dominion, or Dominion of Swords was his book, and so I got that from him, and I was just starting out. Ironically enough, I actually gave him advice for Royal Road for like posting schedules and things like that to help him get Dungeon Crawler Carl started.
Oh wow!
And he said it helped him. So I like have that like, oh hey, it helped. And it's like one little of like my little help was a paragraph of information on, hey, you should be doing these things on Royal Road, which worked for him. It would not have worked for him if he didn't write a fantastic book. Like if he wasn't insanely talented and consistent and wrote amazing books, would not have helped him. But because he was all of that things, that helped him get a little bit more of the exposure that he needed to really take off. So like it's one of those things where like I was so happy for him. I'm like he is so supportive of everyone. Like he does amazing things with that, and like he's a big sponsor of the Lit RPG Con that's coming up in a few weeks, and things like that. Like he gives back to the community so much. So I really like it for that.
That's what we like to see.
I love it. I love it. Going back to Carl for a minute.
Yes. Go back to the book.
We touched just a little bit on the NPCs. I want to talk about the NPCs a little bit because I really loved this part of it. Like when you're playing a game, the NPCs don't always matter to players, right? And when I first started this book, the first book, I was like, "Ooh, is this going to be a thing? Is this?" And like it was interesting because I felt like Carl was going through the same moment as he enters the dungeon. He's wondering, like, do these NPCs matter? Are they really people? Like, do they have personalities? Do they have backgrounds? What's going on here? And as you read on, and I don't want to, talk about the other books really too much because we're here to talk about book one, but they are important and there is a lot of depth there, and there's other aspects of the dungeon that are like that. I mean, the more that you go, the deeper he delves in these areas. I want to hear like a little bit more about that. Like, what are our thoughts about the NPCs? What about like, this can wait for a minute, but like the talk shows? Because at first I was like, what's this? And that becomes surprisingly.
You go first. I talk a lot.
What do we think?
All right, I'll go first. So when you play these games and you have the NPCs, they don't really matter. The guy with the thing over his head is going to give you a quest, but it doesn't really matter. But I think when Carl has that conversation with the goblins, and they're talking about, if only we could move down a floor and then we wouldn't have to kill for survival, that kind of thing. I think that really opened his eyes. But the thing about those NPCs is that they were monsters first. So they were red. Their dots were red, and then they turned them white because he got the goblin patch. So anyway, when I first read that, I was like, what do you mean the NPCs matter? What do you mean the NPCs have kids? That's what? So I really thought that was a very unique element. Of course, we've got Free Guy, that awesome movie with Ryan Reynolds, where the NPC is very much alive, but I think a lot of people don't care about NPCs. Like, they just give me my quest, okay? Give me my 500 golds and I'll move on. But the fact that Dungeon Crawler Carl starts to care about them it's a big part of the book. It was huge, and I loved it. I love that aspect.
It just gives him another chance to demonstrate his humanity, which is really, at the end of the day, I think, the selling point for Carl as
Absolutely.
a character. That like he's perfectly painted as an everyman, as like this sort of decently competent, sort of living under his capacity human being for most of his life, maybe getting taken advantage of by a girlfriend and whatever, but then gets into the situation where he has to put his skills to use and develop skills and suddenly take a stand, and consistently throughout the books, and it starts in book one. The thing that Carl always does is he cares about the people around him. He cares about the other humans that are in the game. Once he figures out what's going on, to the extent that we know what's going on with the NPCs, he cares about the NPCs and tries to protect them. And he puts himself on the line and sacrifices his own safety and well-being in order to try to take care of everybody. And so it's this fun little grace note that, I mean, that's happened in other stories. Oh, the people that you think are just sort of faceless automatons actually have lives and feelings and whatever. But then he adds that in addition to all these other threads that we've been talking about, that he weaves into the book, to just give Carl and Donut, by extension, more depth, more humanity, draw us in further, give the story more heart. And then when he punches you in the feels, it hurts, because everybody involved is real and in it, Masterfully done.
He makes suboptimal choices to help other people.
Yeah.
And it's not even just to help the other humans, because again, and you see this in a lot of other ones, is that like the humans are treating each other like game pieces, like, you know, they're murdering each other for experience points, or, you know, he meets a lot of trash people. Let's be honest, there are a bunch of trash people in the world, and he meets them, and sometimes situations like this will optimize trashy people to come out ahead, and he sees that, and he still makes choices to help people even when he knows maybe this isn't the smartest choice for me. Which it does, it really humanizes, and that's what makes him a hero, even though I know he doesn't see himself as a hero, he just sees himself as a guy doing his best. But to everybody else, he is a hero because he is the one who will go out of his way to help people and to try and do the right thing, even when it's not easy or convenient. And like you see a lot of this with Mordecai and with his predicaments and what happens with him, and like how he worries that, oh my gosh, should I just screw over Mordecai to get more help for us? And, you know, trying to make sure that he's taking care of everyone, even the NPCs that, you know, the other people aren't attached to their trainers.
Not really.
They're not attached to their trainers. They don't care. Like, and to be fair, most of their trainers don't care about them and give them terrible advice. So
That's true.
Street there, kind of. He got lucky with getting a good one. Yeah, but it's one of those things that, like, it shows the humanity in people in different situations, and he's really good about showing the circumstances behind everyone. How even though they are stuck in this loop, they still have feelings, and they still are struggling, and how he's like, I feel obligated to help them because, like, yeah, she died because I accepted her quest. Like, I have to do something about this now. This became my problem because I, either through my activity or lack thereof, this became my problem.
Yeah, and even Mordecai tells him repeatedly, ignore the quest. You're not doing that. And he's like, but I am.
I'm sorry. I know that's the smart thing. You're trying to tell me the smart thing to do, but I'm going to do the right thing instead of the smart thing. So I kind of love him for that.
Going to the game shows and talking about that aspect of it, I think that's, again, another sort of genius move to zoom out on the story and get us out of the dungeon to show us more of the world or the universe that we're functioning in. It of course has strong echoes of Hunger Games, and that's fine. I like Hunger Games too, so that works just fine, and there's plenty of echoes there. But it allows for a different sort of level of the story to come in, and we get to see more than we would otherwise than if we were stuck in the dungeon all of the time. And so that kind of sort of cutaway occasionally, I feel like then adds, and you get that great his comeuppance of the maestro in this book that is just beautiful and so satisfying, because everybody's met that kind of person and wanted to just grind him into the dirt, and you never can, and he manages, and so it feels so good. But at the same time that's happening, and you like Carl all the more because of it, then also we're getting so much information about the political factions and what's really going on between these different corporations, and with the game and it going too soon and all of this stuff. And you start to get these shreds of information that form the through line for the series.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he really he like just sprinkles it in like here and there. Like you find out, oh, this one little thing, and then it like suddenly becomes important, and like it's so
Yeah, because and he
masterful.
remembers, and it's like got great recall. And it's like, I just made that connection because of that other thing that happened 2 books ago. But yeah, it's amazing. It's really well
Like
done.
a 200-page spreadsheet, and then they had to make a second spreadsheet to keep track of the first spreadsheet, and it's
I love spreadsheets.
well, spreadsheets are great. Matt's is insane, and they had to like get a whole new person to like just assistants to keep track of things because
That's
yeah,
great.
great. So
I wish more authors would do that.
I have like my spreadsheet's only like 50 pages long. That's fine.
Oh, wow, that's wow.
Only
You guys are using spreadsheets? What?
It's like you guys are getting paid, meme.
That's exactly right.
Use a spreadsheet. That is any lit RPG author should use a spreadsheet, or you will die.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I am currently dying because I don't have one.
You will get
you a spreadsheet.
I gotta get me one.
I am the spreadsheet queen. I bequeath you with a spreadsheet. You should use it.
That's great.
Yeah, no. Please use a spreadsheet. Keep track of your numbers. Please. I beg of you. I beg of you. Don't torture us like this.
From the publisher side, I beg of you, okay?
I have been thoroughly chastened. I will talk to my
spreadsheet.
We will get us to a spreadsheet.
But yeah, no, he masterfully seeds in all of those things, and it gives you a nice like, because it can be hard for a lot of these books. You don't like switching perspectives a lot, because people get jarred pretty easily. But this is a really good way to give them updates on how everybody else is doing, and people like comparisons. They want to know how strong he is versus the strongest people. And so being able to do that makes people happy because they're like, oh, like they like baselines, and they need that baseline to know, like, well, is he actually ahead of the curve, or is he, falling behind because of these certain things? And of course, we want to read about a protagonist. Like, one of the biggest lit RPG tropes is the weak to strong protagonist, the guy who's just could be average, regular Joe, making choices that become valid and important to a world at large. And that's like the power fantasy of lit RPG is like people want to imagine that the choices they make matter and that their decisions make a difference in other people's lives. That is like the dream, where most of us just want control, and we don't have it in our life right now. And so this perfectly fits that fantasy of, I may not be someone incredibly special, but if push came to shove, like, you won't break me. I will stand. So, anyway.
I made a funny connection a little while ago that you guys are welcome to disagree with, but it occurred to me that on some level, I think that lit RPG is to young men what romance is to so many women, where it actually fulfills some of the things that they're not getting in their own lives or they wish could work perfectly. And you talk about the power fantasy, and it is exactly that, rather than the relationship fantasy that you get from romance. I'm not sure that's a perfect one-to-one correlation, but that hit in my brain and stuck. Like, oh, it's exactly that you were talking about. There are so many aspects of life that we have so little control over, and so many folks just want to be in a situation where they can do the thing that makes sense, get better, succeed at everything.
Yeah,
and like
have happy,
exactly the happy endings. Yeah, no, that's really where it hits hardest for me. That sort of connection between lit RPG and romance is like, you gotta have. You can't just like undermine your hero and like take away all their power halfway through book 1 or book 2, or you're going to lose all your readers. Like, the numbers need to go up. They need to keep winning. They need their happy ending.
Oh, there is one of the biggest things that I've seen is the biggest drop-offs on several books that were popular was when they had arcs where they became like enslaved or powerless. That was one of the biggest drop-offs for a lot of lit RPG readers. Is if that happened, nobody likes it. Nobody likes you wake up in a prison naked.
I mean, especially not the characters, but you know.
Yeah, characters hate that. But
I totally think it's so mad.
They don't like it when you strip away the power and the agency.
Yeah.
As soon as that happens, you will lose a lot of readers.
Because they're putting themselves into that character. Like I mean, that's the classic self-insert, right? That's what we all are reading for, is so that we can live a life that we don't get to. And you go from the power fantasy to naked in a cell, and everybody bounces.
Nobody likes that.
Yeah.
And that's, I will agree with it, actually, because I mean, my two genres are romance and RPG. So like, and it's true in both cases. That's how it's idealizing something that I don't currently have.
Yeah.
And
Oh, about the okay. So we have a question from the chat about what I'm thinking. I'm fascinated by this conversation because I didn't have that reading the book. And so I feel like I'm just sitting here, jaw dropped a little bit, like, wow, this went deeper than I thought. As far as genre goes. And I haven't read a lot of lit RPG either, but this was a great introduction. I've had people recommending it to me for years and just never gone there. Always been reading something else, definitely stuck in my genres that I love, but this has been a great introduction, and like I said, much deeper than I thought it was going to be, especially as I go along with the NPCs and the thoughts that you guys have. It's just been a whole experience reading these books, to be honest. And I haven't finished the series yet, and part of that is because I'm spreading it out. I don't want to mow through.
well, it's not done yet.
It's not done yet. I hate
Do we
that.
know how many
I
books
didn't
he's
know it was a series.
So I know he had originally made a goal for 10.
Oh.
That is not.
I mean, we got 18 floors. I keep hoping.
I don't know if I can emotionally survive for 10 books.
He was at 9, I thought.
Oh, we're at 7, aren't we?
7.
Oh,
7 just got released in March, I believe.
Okay,
I think,
my brain was not on track. We were on floor 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, originally I think the plan was for 10, but he said that's not set in stone. My guess is he's going to go to 12.
Yeah.
Oh,
because
Donut better not die, or we all riot. That's all I'm saying.
no,
Bring it. I'll read these books as many as there are.
12 is a multiple of 3. It's easier to make into omnibuses.
That's fair. Yeah.
Good idea.
Oh man.
That's why I say 12.
I love it. Okay, yeah. So the question is, do we like to predict things that are going to happen in the book as we're reading?
We're writers. Of course we do.
I actually don't. I try not to.
Oh, I do.
This is like shutting my brain off so that I can enjoy the genre, and like it is doing research for me because it's
That's fine.
reading in the genre and trying to stay relevant, like to make sure I'm staying relevant, because again, the genre like flips what's popular every year. It's crazy. Like which subgenre is like at the top right now. I mean, to be fair, I don't even care because I'm just like, I'm gonna write what I want to write regardless.
I was just gonna ask you, so which one is it?
Right now, cards are really popular.
Oh yeah.
The cards are super popular, and tower climbers are becoming more popular again. But there was a while where VR MMO was really popular, and then it became not as popular, and then the post-apocs have become more popular again too. Again, partially because of Matt and Dungeon Caller Carl becoming widespread. They're like cozy ones are becoming more of a thing because of Travis.
Travis who?
Oh my gosh!
Right?
Oh,
Aldrich.
sorry.
I was like, what's his last name? I just spaced. He wrote Legends and Lattes.
Oh yeah, I've read that. You think I would? Yeah. That's considered lit RPG. Legends and Lattes.
So Travis is one of like the biggest narrators for lit RPG. One of the most popular he's the one I mentioned who he was a game designer for years and years and years until he got really fed up with it, and then switched over to narrating, and then wrote his own book for NaNoWriMo, and then that took off. So really also he's one of the other another super freaking nice guy.
Awesome.
I'm so happy for both of them that they have achieved the success, because again, it's been happening to some of the nicest people, and I'm so excited about that. So I don't remember what was the question?
In terms though of guessing what's coming next, I have to admit that I'm with you, Jay. I tend to just sort of roll with the story, and yeah, I would like to be surprised by what's coming next. And so
I have to be right. I have to be right that I know what's coming next, and I'm frequently not. So it's good for my humility.
Yeah, I tend to be a little bit more passive as far as that goes. Maybe it's because I'm listening rather than using my eyes on it. I don't know. This is one of the first series that I've really done full audio instead of I'm traditionally far more a book, physical book reader. But I mean, the audiobooks are just so good for
good.
Oh my gosh. Even listened to the audio because I don't really do audio, but I have Donut's voice as Jeff's voice in my head because I've heard him do it at so many conventions.
Jeff Hayes is a genius. I mean,
yeah.
I heard that Patrick
Warburton, he's amazing.
Sort of knockoff voice for Carl, and I'm like, oh well, I have to listen to all of this. That's just a must now. Sorry.
Voice. I can't do it appropriately. I'm not a voice actor.
And then, I mean, I know we're talking about book 1, but to actually have Patrick Warburton come in for a part on book 6 was just beautiful, and I loved it. Anyways, but yeah, when it comes to thinking ahead, I tend to just sort of ride the wave with the story. I don't know about you folks.
Also, because I know that he does do I try not to guess, because again, I know some of it is completely random because he is pulling his patrons. And that's actually it's one of the things I like about lit RPG is when I write my books, I'm basically doing the same thing. I don't know where the ending it's a misty valley. I'm at one side and I'm at the beginning, and I can see the end on the other side, and I can see a few trees in the valley, and I'm walking towards those trees, but the mist along the way is, a discovery. So I know a few points, I know where I'm going at the end, but I don't know how I'm getting there. And I roll for stuff. I am playing D&D by myself to write my books.
Love it.
So don't always know how things are going to turn out myself. And I know he does some of that. So it's one of those things, even he doesn't necessarily know how things are going to turn out. So why should I guess? I'm just going to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
I love that. I think too, for me, I do predict things often. I just can't stop. And one thing that really helps me with these books to not know what's happening, and I love being surprised. That is the best when it doesn't go the way I wanted it to go.
Only when it's a good surprise, justifiable, he's laid the breadcrumbs. So when it's oh, I did not see the headless sex doll or the head of the sex doll becoming a main character in the book. I didn't see that. But I liked that surprise because he's already given me such other strange characters that I'm like, okay, I believe it. She's a part of the team now. So it's just, Yeah, it's you have if it's going to be a surprise, I have to believe it. You know, there's
True.
been some surprises, not in Matt Dinniman's books, of course not, but in other books that I've read, I'm like, no. So he does not do that. He lays enough of the breadcrumbs.
I agree. Yeah, no, he sets the foundation. And one thing that he uses a lot, and I like his use of it. I don't always like this, but he's good at the unreliable narrator, and it allows for
Yes.
that surprise. And he does it where it's like Carl doesn't always know something that happened, right? And then there's the other way where Carl does know, but Carl's not telling us. He's not letting on because the scene just cut and something else has happened, and we're not going to know until the end because Carl is trying to keep things secret from other people, right? I think he's really good at using it both those ways and giving us those surprises that, like you said, they do fit. He builds the foundation. He's slowly giving you the breadcrumbs. He's building it like a Lego set or something, okay, like brick by brick, so till we get to the end. But you don't get to see the finished product or like zoom out or anything until he's ready for it. And it's an issue of timing. It's an issue of what the characters are doing and saying and what we're seeing, what's happening on the screen, so to say. He does it in a variety of ways that I do love, and I don't even need to like guess. I can just enjoy the ride more than most books that I read, where I'm trying to guess and trying to figure it out.
I will say that the cutaway from the scene, I don't think he does it in book one, but in some of the later books, he'll cut away from a scene halfway through when there is some information about to be revealed, and then flash back to it later. I don't love that. That feels a little cheaty to me. And I understand why he does it, and it's not like super offensive or anything. Like it's fine, it works. But for my 2 cents, that particular way of hiding information from the reader by simply not showing it to them, rather than having the main character not know it, I don't love that one as much. The other ways that he then sometimes gets around it by having Carl not know something or become aware of it, that he already does know it and just hadn't figured it out until now, that all works great. But the scene cutaway is one that I wish we didn't.
Fair.
Very minor
So,
gripe, though.
just as a minor thing that made me laugh because Jessica was talking about Samantha. One thing that I laugh at because Matt regrets including it in the book is the AI's foot fetish.
Oh, are you serious?
That's one of my favorite parts.
That's right. That's like my favorite achievement.
People now send Matt foot pics.
Oh.
Oh.
I hate feet. I hate feet. But it's hilarious.
His assistant now sends them to Jeff. But that is one thing that he's never going to do because he now gets so much of it.
But again, just the beauty of that audiobook, just like the breathlessness of the AI.
The creepy vibes. Oh, it's so gross.
With your beautiful feet. Oh, I love it so much. It's so funny.
I love it.
It comes
Yep,
across
that's what I'm going to be thinking about tonight. That's really funny.
Be careful if you include stuff like that in your book that you might get inundated with.
I can see how that could get old real quick.
I know what to give him. Give him some unsolicited feet pics.
Unsolicited feet pics to Jeff. Yeah.
That's
that
funny.
is the moral of the story from this conversation.
Okay. All right. Not to Matt. Only Jeff. Got it. I'm good. I'm good.
And for anybody that's on the fence about reading this book, if you happen to be watching this and you haven't read the book yet, I mean, if you got a foot fetish, now you have to. Sorry, I don't make the rules.
Even if you don't have a foot fetish, you have to.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Some of it a lot. It's just like, you know what I do love? I do love the fact that the loot boxes are tailored to entertainment. And like the fact that they're like, well, if somebody didn't hiss every time they got a torch, maybe it's not getting them. if somebody stopped bitching about not having pants, maybe he'd have gotten some pants.
I mean, he does get fancy boxers. It's fine.
He does.
Fine.
It's actually, it's kind of brilliant in a way. This is one thing that I faced with my books, is that I wish people would cosplay as my characters.
Mm.
I would love that. But that only works if they have like a really iconic look.
Mm-hmm.
For like my Lotus Lake characters, I'm like, they're changing equipment so often that there isn't really like an iconic look. And they do mention that in book 2. They're like, they don't want you to, like, if you've got a look, they don't want you to change it, and they will help you to keep that look. But it's really an interesting thing. Like, it's kind of brilliant in that way, because for merch and for cosplay and anything, if you want to monetize this in other ways,
And just for covers and for branding. I mean, it's just
Yeah, branding, recognizable.
really smart, and I kind of regret it a little bit. I was like,
Your next series. You'll fix
next
that.
series, I'm gonna find a way to, but I'm also like, that's kind of gross. Change your clothes.
Okay, well, I've always heard never have your characters. Oh, I'm just saying, I've always heard never have your characters go to the bathroom. Just don't. They don't need to. And this one does a lot, and I kind of think it's funny.
And I think it's actually kind of brilliant, because at the same time I was thinking about it, because one of the safe rooms that he stops in, they're like, yeah, there's no food here, but there's just a shower. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, it actually makes a lot of sense, because nobody wants to watch a dirty, homeless, covered in blood dude just wandering the halls. They want pretty, photogenic people for their television show.
Exactly.
So
the fluffy cat, not the blood-soaked one.
Not the blood-soaked. I like the cute cat, not the blood-soaked monstrosity that she becomes when soaked in goop. Like, oh my gosh, when the at the pool, when the boss pops and like she gets covered in like 3 inches of muck, that sounded so disgusting. I was just like, whoa. No, that's so gross. And here's the other thing. I'm a horror reader. I don't like horror. I love Matt's books. They're great. Like, I still won't read his Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon book, because I know that's not for me. Not for me. That one is like a lot more than this one. I'm not gonna do it. But like,
good to know.
It's great for you. Great.
It's great.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I derailed again.
No, you're just fine. You're just fine. We are running out of time for tonight, but here's a chance if you have like a last thought, or tell us where to find you, if you have a cool website, anything like that. Go ahead. You want to start, Jay?
Sure. You can pretty much find me jboyce.com. We'll send you to most of my other places. I've got a Discord, I've got Facebook groups, I've got Patreon, I've got my books on Amazon and Audible. You can also find me at DragonCon and LTUE. And we might be able to convince Matt to come to LTUE if he's actually invited you. I've talked to him about it before, so
that would be awesome.
just
that would be so cool.
That we could probably invite him.
Yes.
Just in case the organizers want to hear that.
Yeah. In case you know someone who is, in on that decision.
For me, I've got a couple of books up on Amazon. If you want to go looking for Cameron Hopkin on Amazon, I am currently working on one of those card lit RPG stories on Royal Road that we were talking about before. So if you're looking for a good card battler lit RPG, you can look for Source and Soul on Royal Road.
And my website is my name, as difficult as it is to spell. I do anthologies, so it's mostly not my name. It's on the cover, not on all of them. So, but it has all my current availability on there. I've even been in a coloring book twice.
Nice.
What?
Is that Tanya's?
Yeah. I'm pretty proud of that, honestly. I'm going to start listing that first on my resume. I've been published in 2 coloring books.
pretty. They're so pretty.
Her art style is so amazing. I love it.
So fun. Anyway, sorry.
What about you, Ashley? Where can we find you?
Like I
you?
said, I am the editing track head for LTUE. And that's kind of my big thing. I'm also a freelance editor. My website isn't awesome right now, so I'm not going to give it to you. But if it works, it's just very mediocre. All right, just a couple of closing things. Please subscribe. We love our podcast. It's pretty awesome. You can also sign up for the LTUE newsletter at ltue.net. You can pre-register for next year's event next February. We're already looking forward to it, even though I feel like we just ended the last one. And next month. Sorry, what was that?
It's been 2 months. Not that long ago.
Yeah.
I'm still bruised from it.
No.
I'm still bruised from my fall down the stairs at LTUE. It's great.
No.
Sorry.
So bad.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
I dove head first down the stairs and Ryan had to bring me ice. It was great.
Oh.
My
Jay likes to make an entrance.
I mean, everybody remembered it, I'm sure.
20 minutes of arriving at LTUE. So, it was my first thing I did there. It's like, this is who I am as a person. This is why I would be one of the first one deads in this world. If I got pulled into Colorado, I would be dead because I would have tripped over my own foot. And just
the AI might have liked that though.
I would have been that person when the hole opened with the nursing home people, and they just fell. That would have been me. I would have been one of the people who just fell.
I forgot about that. Oh, I forgot.
Sorry. Bring up the trauma at the end.
What's a podcast without a little trauma? It's fine.
Okay. A dark horror comedy.
It fits. It's fair enough. Yeah, that fits. Okay, last thing. Next month, the end of May, we're going to be doing The Crystal Shard, Legend of Drizzt. I hope I said that right. I'm not great at this kind of stuff. By R.A. Salvatore.
I don't know.
I don't know. It seems like an old Forgotten Realms one.
I've never pronounced it out loud.
As someone who read it when he was like 12, I am highly offended, and that is accurate.
These were at my house all growing up. I just never read them, which is weird. I saw them, but I never actually.
They're good books.
Got into them. They were my brother's books, and I wasn't allowed to touch.
Oh, my brother had all the Dragonlance. I stole them when he was at school.
That's what you do.
I still have a couple books I stole from him when he went to college.
I still has one of his shirts that I stole, actually.
I mean, that's what you do. You steal from your older siblings when they leave the house.
It's true.
All right. Thanks everyone so much for
Like
joining us.
Cats. I'm sorry.
Been great.
It's like trying to get Donut to behave.
I'm a parrot. I'm a parrot.
All right. I'm gonna say goodnight now. That was wonderful. This has been Books, Universe, and Everything. Thank you so much, everyone. We've had a great night.
I hope you're as entertained as we were.
Good night.